and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah.
On Pulse 95.
Even though Thursday we have some mixed emotions.
What do you mean mixed emotions?
Well,
what are you talking about?
I think it has to do with the fact that we've been playing this game recently, and
right.
It's hit us in the feels a little bit, and it's gonna. I don't know if it's gonna affect my review. We'll see, but I'm definitely excited to talk a little bit about it. This is the first time I've ever played an Ace Attorney game, so it's a big deal for me.
It is a massive deal, especially since it is also the first Ace Attorney review we've ever done. As if there are lots of Ace Attorney games out there, so this is just one of the many things to look forward to today on the Magic Hour. That is the Afternoon Karak. Mixed emotions, mostly also because we love our show. We love chatting with you guys, but also I need to nap.
We need a break. I know.
Really badly.
Well, we only have an hour to go live till 5. Live till 5. Alive till 5.
Is something going to happen at 5 p.m.? Is there going to be an assassination attempt?
Hopefully not. No. I think you misheard me. Just live till 5.
Or maybe I've been playing too much Ace Attorney.
That could be it, honestly, because they use wordplay a lot. So
this game, boy, was it. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. And also Mikhail's first impressions as somebody who has never tried out the game. Kate, we finally got a trailer for this movie that Netflix has been hyping up, and we kind of briefly spoke about it when we saw the teaser a while back. We're also going to be talking, again, touching up upon mental health, especially within Hollywood, because according to Kit Harington, he says that Game of Thrones led to him having a lot of mental health issues.
Also, HBO is rolling out its first ever podcast exclusively to the platform, but with a surprise twist. And this time, it seems like they're going to be introducing podcasts through the world of Batman.
Yes, very interesting, because I feel like there's a whole new wave of people who are very much interested in storytelling through podcasts or even audiobooks. So this is them being very smart and tapping into a whole new market. This is just some of the things we're going to be talking about right here on the Afternoon Karak. You know what to do. Stay tuned and stay locked only here on Pulse 95.
Is it an epic or epic failure? The Big Review. Movies, games, and TV in focus.
Pulse 95.
If you were tuning in a little bit, maybe like 5 minutes ago, you would have known that we're going to be talking about the latest installation in the Ace Attorney series. That is the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. Actually, it's called the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles because it includes 2 games from the Ace Attorney series that was released a good while back
2016 or something.
2017 in Japan, but it was never localized. But then Capcom kind of, surprised everybody, all of Ace Attorney fans, not too long ago by announcing that this game is going to be coming out in the West after it being translated. It was, it was great news for all of us because a lot of us wanted to try out this game because it's a little bit different since it is set all the way back in Japan around the 18th century, and it also is set in the UK or the Great British Empire, quote unquote. And it's quite interesting because it also involves the well-known Phoenix Wright, not himself, but rather his ancestor. Let me see if I can pronounce it properly.
Okay.
Because I'm half asleep. Ryunosuke Nachino. That's here.
Ryunosuke.
Come on, we've been watching anime for so long. We should be able to pronounce this properly.
Ryunosuke. Yeah, that's how I say it.
Ryunosuke, I think. Naruhodo, which is funny because Naruhodo simply means, I get it, basically in Japanese, which makes sense because it is a game about lawyers. Now, this game, like I said, takes place throughout Japan and the British Empire, as it was back then in the 18th century. And it follows the story of Naruhodo. I love his name so much. Every time it comes up, I just start laughing. And honestly, I want to start off with Mikhail's feelings about this because this is the first Ace Attorney game he has ever played. Meanwhile, I've played plenty of them. So
Okay.
it will be an interesting difference in point of view.
So first impression, I don't usually play those text-based kind of games, but I'm aware that there is a sort of niche for it. Stepping into this, I knew that there was going to be sort of like minimal gameplay, but it makes up for the amazing writing, the compelling and complicated characters, and just the emotional tension you get when a case starts to reach a climax. And I'm just pressing enter. I don't do the autoplay because I'm a bit of a slow reader, so I absorb every sentence that these characters are saying. And like an hour, 2 hours in, I started really paying attention.
It's funny that you say that because I was the opposite. I actually had my dinner and I pressed on autoplay and I just started eating and reading it along. I'm like,
I can't.
keep going.
There's so much jargon sometimes. I'm like, I gotta go back and read that, you know? But no, I managed to keep up with the lingo. It does use a lot of interesting word plays, and it's got this witty, clever humor to it. And what I even love about it is that it's not too hard to solve some of the cases. It's instead just a lot of logic. So if you apply logic to what's going around, you won't expect it in the beginning, but as things start to, like, a new evidence comes in, it's like, oh, I get it now. It's like this would be completely contradictory, and then it's like, okay, select this, present the evidence, and I'm really into it. I remember I did this thing where I present the evidence and I just did a hand gesture. I'm like this, you know, and I'm like, okay, now I'm into it. You know?
Very much into it, and that's the thing about the Ace Attorney games. They really immerse you into the setting, not only because the setting itself and the story is compelling, but just like you mentioned, the characters are very interesting, especially since it's set in the 18th century. So it only makes sense that we get Sherlock Holmes, also known as Sherlock Sholmes,
Yes.
due to copyright reasons and the fact that the estate of Sherlock Holmes, Conan Arthur Doyle was probably not going to give out that namesake for anything, right?
I like that name better, to be honest.
I like the jokes they keep coming out, making fun of them, basically, instead of when he says Sherlock Sholmes, they're like, that sounds German. He's like, I'm not German. And he's like, but Sherlock Sholmes, very German. Just some of the jokes and banter you can expect out of any Ace Attorney game, and that's actually one of the things that, like I said, makes the storytelling compelling.
Yes, we're going to continue our review of this game. If you've played the latest Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, do text us 4215 and Slaughter. We'd love to hear your personal critique, but let's take a little bit of break and continue our extensive review right here on the Afternoon Cutter.
Pulse 95.
We are continuing our extensive review of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. This is a prequel story to the original Ace Attorney series. Sets all the way back to 1800s Japan. And one of the things that I was worried about when I stepped into this game is because of the period. I thought that a lot of the investigations, or at least the empirical evidence, would be somewhat limited because we don't have the forensic technology of modern times to really make interesting evidences. But there's this thing that happens a bit later when Sherlock Sholmes comes in. He somewhat invents he becomes like the guy who revolutionizes forensic science just for you to solve a case.
And also, it's great that you point that out because they actually involve some of that in the dialogue as well. They kind of point out that there is a big discrepancy between Japan's, law system and judiciary system in comparison to Great Britain of that time. That there is obviously Britain has had maybe many centuries to establish theirs, whereas Japan, since it was just opened their borders perhaps maybe around 80 to 100 years ago, it's still establishing its footing within that realm. And I really like the way they also included some historical and political things, but still keeping the whole Ace Attorney feel.
Keeping it to the courtroom.
Exactly. And let me now tell you my point of view as somebody who has been playing the Ace Attorney series for quite a while now, since the Nintendo DS version a long time ago, in comparison to Mikhail's first impressions. I say to what you said when you said that it's kind of based on logic, which is all Ace Attorney games. However, I feel like this game is much easier in comparison to the other games.
You're probably because you're so seasoned. You're expecting a weird... Because I know the cases always have a weird murder case.
They always do. Like, the ending usually is like, I never thought of it. And this version of Ace Attorney does have the same feeling where I'm like, what? What are you talking? Why would you go that way? What is happening? That's something I never thought of. But in comparison to the previous games that I played, I usually have a walkthrough open and I get stuck so often. I believe one of the first Ace Attorney games I've ever played, perhaps maybe into the third chapter or the final chapter, I could not continue one step without the help of a walkthrough. But that's just me, honestly. Maybe I'm older now, even though I do have the the remastered trilogy on my Nintendo Switch, and I played it maybe 2 years ago, so it's not that long ago. But I still feel this is much easier in comparison to the other trilogies and the other Ace Attorney series that I played previously. So there is that. I also like the fact that they added some new mechanisms. Now, it's nothing new that there are some weird things included in Ace Attorney because it's still fictional and there are still some weird things incorporated. It's not a real judiciary system. It's not real lawyers and prosecutors. And what I love about it is that they incorporate some weird things such as, ways of observing people and ways of cross-examining people. Now, what is interesting in this series is that, one, there is the Sherlock Holmes and Naruhodo's sort of collaboration as
investigation mission.
Exactly, the investigation mission where they basically cross-examine together because Sherlock Holmes might make a mistake, but then Naruhodo would kind of fix it and set him back on track, which was very interesting, nice collaboration. Meanwhile, the next interesting part is the jury system. That has never been included in any other Ace Attorney game. And the reason why I say that these are very cool and interesting is because otherwise it would have fallen into somewhat of the same sort of narrative or plot of every Ace Attorney game that we've ever played before. That might not really be a problem, but if you've played the game so many times, at some point you might fall into this thing where it's like it's just a cycle. I know exactly what's going to happen next. I don't mean like in terms of what's going to happen in terms of the investigation, but rather how the plot plays along.
Yeah, the major beats and stuff.
Exactly. But here, because they added those extra things, it kind of switched it up. And I think it's also important because it is set in a whole different era. So you might need something a little bit different. And even the previous games, they're set in Japan, it's present time. There's a proper judiciary and law system. However, here they kind of want to show the differences, the stark difference between Japan and Great Britain back then and how they have different ways. But even then, it's very innovative. You did not get to that part yet, Mikhail. But the jury system is like, it's expected. It is like, as any jury system, but then with that Ace Attorney twist.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my final verdict, but actually let me listen to Mikhail's first.
The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles was a personal surprise for me. Being my first one, first impressions, I think it's a fantastic package of really witty and charming, dialogue and writing, compelling and complicated characters, as well as a murder case that you will never figure out until you reach the end of that case itself. Mm-hmm. So my personal verdict for this game is a 9 out of 10.
For me, actually, the fact that it's easier, in my opinion, than other Ace Attorney games, and also the fact I know that it's every single Ace Attorney game is very dialogue heavy, but I feel like this game is even more dialogue heavy. There's a lot more talking, but the stories are compelling. The characters are incredibly compelling and super fun. And the added elements are incredible, which is the reason why I give it an 8 out of 10.
Honestly, this is a game that is filled with so much mystery that you really just want to finish it to find out. And the revelations always wind up being so outstanding, so out of this world, that makes the whole experience totally worth it.
And the emotional connection you end up having with the characters. And
Ya Allah.
Mikhail and I,
I'm on the second case.
We're not going to ruin it for you, but to tell you that I was nearly crying by the end of the second case is an understatement, especially since the game has 5 cases and I was crying by the second one. Just tells you how good this game is. And with that, we wrap up our review of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, available on the Switch, PS4, also on Steam. Basically, it's available everywhere, so you have no excuse to try out this game. We move on to Netflix releasing the trailer for Kate.
This is Pulse 95.
Now, this isn't the first time any sort of actor or actress or celebrity in general came up and spoke up about the fact that a famous series or, series of movies that they've been part of had actually caused them some mental health issues. And the latest person to say that is none other than Game of Thrones star Kit Harington himself.
Yes, in a recent interview, he talked about the mental health difficulties he had from 2010 all the way to 2018. He says, I went through some mental health issues during and after the end of Thrones. To be honest, I think it was directly due to the nature of the show and what I had been doing for so many years.
It's very exhausting, that show. I mean, it's a big production, and he gave away 8 years of his life for the show.
A lot of people don't ever fully understand the conditions of filming a series or a movie. There's a lot of things that happen, like 16-hour day shifts, from month of separation from loved ones, massive pressure to get the scenes right, massive pressure from the producers and the higher ups, and we're not even talking about the huge media attention that you get, whether it's out or even on social media itself, because Game of Thrones was a pretty big deal. And I think those last couple of seasons, people were very, very how do I say it, loud about it, And,
definitely, because the fandom is one of the biggest fandoms out there. And even if you haven't watched the series like myself, you still knew every single thing that has happened on the show itself. So there was no escaping Game of Thrones back then. So obviously it probably felt a lot of pressure on his shoulders, whether it's from the team he was working with or with the fandom itself. And I'm glad that he's speaking up, and I'm glad that a lot of people are speaking up as well to talk about how it is very difficult to be an actor, an actress, or a celebrity in general that has to put in a lot of hours and effort and time into this craft, especially since Kit Harington is not just any actor. He did so much in such a long time. He gave back to his community, gave back to his loyal fans. So he did a really great job. And again, we're happy and proud of him for what he has done.
After his mental breakdown from the show, he did say that he took a year-long break, and he wanted to really concentrate on himself, and he's really happy that he did that. And I think what's also great about this is that we're going to be seeing Kit Harington very soon in the Marvel's Eternals that's going to come out later in November.
Yes, and we're not sure how far he's going to be into the MCU phases, as in is he just going to appear in the Eternals, or is he going to be appearing later on in phase 4, 5, 6 maybe? Who knows? We just need to wait and see as we figure out what on earth is the Eternals about. Yes, we know we got teasers and whatnot, but what is it really about? We'll find out all the way in November. We're going to be talking about HBO Max getting some interesting, well, actually, just spreading its wings into a whole new industry, that is podcast, kicking off with a Batman podcast coming up next, right here on the Afternoon Karak.
This is Pulse 95.
As we've recently reported about HBO expanding outside of the US, hopefully there will be a more global reach for all of its video content. But there is a strategy now. It seems that HBO is trying to turn its app into a destination not only for video, but also for audio. And it comes in the form of an exclusive podcast series, starting off with the Batman franchise.
It is very interesting that HBO Max is doing that because maybe a week or two ago, Spotify announced they're doing the exact same thing with the Batman podcast, starting none other than Winston Duke.
Ooh, you see, I think that's probably
battle
one of the
of
reasons.
the podcast.
And what I find very interesting about this Batman podcast, it's called the Batman Adventure, the Audio Adventures. It's going to be an in-app exclusive. It's only going to be on HBO Max. And so that means you can't listen to it anywhere else. It is a scripted show, which is going to feature Jeffrey Wright as Batman. You guys know him from Westworld, as well as Rosario Dawson.
Rosario Dawson is one of my favorite actresses out there, so it's very interesting.
As Batwoman.
As seeing her as Batwoman, like she's being cast as that amazing character. And honestly, I'm excited for this because, again, as I mentioned earlier in this hour, I said that it just shows that they are tapping into a very interesting industry, a very interesting, I'd say, group of people who are very fond of storytelling through podcasts, because everybody knows the conversational podcast where you sit down and you listen to two individuals, 3, 4, 5 people talk about something. But storytelling is also a major part of podcasts, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and beyond that. So seeing them tapping into that is very smart of them, especially since I just mentioned that Spotify is doing the exact same thing with their own version of Batman on a podcast as well.
Now, this scripted show will take a comedic approach to the characters. It's going to be influenced a lot by the classic 60s Batman TV show, as well as the 19 series Batman. This is exciting, and it's coming out this fall, but one issue I have is the fact that HBO Max is known not to be its functionality is focused on video more than audio.
I was thinking about that because let's say which part of the library will it be available on, and let's say you can play it on your TV. Well, what's going to be playing in the background? I know it sounds very weird and like a too much looking into details kind of thing, but still, like, it's very interesting, like you said, because they are very much focused on visuals and visual media.
Yeah, they need to make sure that when they bring in this podcast category to HBO Max, that it has to be compatible, that people can use it with smooth and user-friendly functionality.
Oh, engaging as well. Has to be really engaging.
I heard that the HBO Max app, whenever you play anything audio-based and you just lock your phone, the podcast shuts off. So I think they need to fix that for this Batman podcast premiere.
So similar to YouTube, basically.
Yeah.
So I think that if they do a podcasting, and then it becomes part of their main features, because they did announce that there are going to be some other podcasts, including one that is associated with the OC, because if you guys know, everybody knows the OC. Everybody's either watched it or heard of it. And there's also an Issa Rae scripted sequel called Looking for LaToya, which is called We Stay Looking. So it just means that they are venturing deep into this. But like Mikhail said, they need to be very user-friendly and think about the fact that a lot of people also listen to podcasts while driving, and you don't want your phone to be unlocked the entire time while you're driving. That's just going to drain out battery.
Exactly. We're definitely going to keep an eye on this. Even though it's going to be exclusive to HBO Max, I'll find a way to listen to it myself. Coming up.
But there are no alternative links for podcasts, but we'll figure out a way. Don't worry.
If there's a will, there's a way. That's
absolutely.
Coming up next, we're talking about Activision and their announcement for another Call of Duty mobile game. Wow. What's that about? Find out right here on the Afternoon Cut.
Pulse 95.
When I came across this news, I had to do a double check because I thought this was from several years ago, because when I read Call of Duty mobile game, I was like, there is a mobile game. What are you talking about? Especially since I feel like Call of Duty has had several titles and several announcements in just the past 2 years. It's very jam-packed, and there's been a lot of interesting news coming from that title and series. So I literally had to double check the date this was announced. I was like, did Mikhail send me something from 2017? What is going on here? So this is very interesting, an interesting look from Activision, especially looking into the fact that it's kind of controversial, the whole Activision Blizzard thing. But apparently they're very, very busy.
Yes, Activision confirmed in their latest earnings that they're working on a new Call of Duty game for mobile. Now you're thinking, already there's a COD Mobile that I can play with. My sister is obsessed with it. And I was thinking the same thing. It's a bit baffling, to be honest, because there's enough Call of Duties that come out every year. There's 3 dedicated studios for premium Call of Duties. We even haven't gotten a revelation for what Sledgehammer is working on. I guess they're going to wait until they get closer to October. But the more I think about it, the more I start to sort of connect the dots. Call of Duty Mobile is a mixture of every title and every map and multiplayer modes put in together. But what it doesn't have is a dedicated battle royale mode. And I think that's exactly what they're going for. They want to have a separate Call of Duty Warzone that's on mobile.
That makes a lot of sense, even though it seems kind of counterintuitive. But instead of trying to jam pack every single thing into one mobile game, they can have 2, because needing a server for this game and needing another one only makes sense. I mean, they're not going to put every single person for 2 different modes of play into one application. It's going to crash every single time. So it makes sense.
Yeah, Call of Duty has evolved in the last couple of years from just having its regular annual titles and now having Warzone becoming this evolving multiplayer experience that changes whenever there's a new Call of Duty game out in the market. And I think that's exactly what they want to sort of bring in for the mobile market as well. And Call of Duty Mobile has been doing pretty good. It earns Activision at least $1 billion every year. So they're like, hey, why not another Call of Duty game? It's not going to hurt us.
It's not going to hurt them, especially since they're actually tapping into a whole new arena. They're tapping also into a whole new studio just dedicated for this game as well. So they're putting in all their work and time and money into this new upcoming application and mobile game that we have yet to know more about, because it's just speculation. We know they're working on one, but what is it about? We're not sure. This is just like I said, just Mikhail and I talking about it, and also the fandom trying to figure out what it's all about. Finally, we're getting closer to the end of the hour and closer to the weekend. But we do have Aisha and Mikhail Suggest coming up next right here on the Afternoon Karak.
It's almost 5 p.m.
That was Afternoon Karak.
For dessert,
Aisha and Mikhail suggest...
If you missed out on our exclusive review of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, it's okay, because we do have a podcast that goes up a little bit after the show. Just search up Afternoon Karak wherever you listen to podcasts, and you'll find us, whether it's on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Rami, etc. Again, just search up Afternoon Karak. And if you want to see our lovely, lovely faces, you can check out our YouTube channel, Pulse 95 Radio. Like, comment, and subscribe. And right before we wrap up and end everything, we do have a suggestion from Mikhail himself.
Yeah, so it's a very simple suggestion, but I think it goes a long way, because once upon a time, I used to have my own wireless earbuds until my sisters started to use them, and I never touched them again.
Mikhail. Do we need to have a dedicated segment every day called Mikhail has some issues with his sisters? Mikhail complains about Dana and Hidayah.
Like the Full House series.
Basically.
But basically, my suggestion is that please take care of your earbuds, your AirPods.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure to regularly and frequently clean them. And inside out, we're talking, because it's great for the sound quality, and it keeps the device more durable. If you want a device that lasts a bit longer, and believe me, some of the stuff that I find when I put a Q-tip in there is an absolute nightmare. So just please take care of your AirPods.
Oh yeah.
Take care of your ear health, your ear hygiene. It's very important as well. this is basically our livelihood as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's my suggestion. Just like how you clean your belly button, clean your earbuds.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I wanted a weird analogy, but
You do you, Mikhail. That's what we love about you.
Thank you.
You and your unpredictableness right here on the afternoon Karak. But the fun, entertainment, and unpredictability continues. It takes over on Yalla Home. Big House and Anna Schofield take over the airwaves right here on Pulse 95 and Sharjah from 5 p.m. all the way till 8 p.m. Keeping you company only here on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of Afternoon Karak, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.